Need to start the recording. Good to go. I was able to claim all 30 of my dependents. All right, well, first things first, let's take a look at what's shaking around the markets here this morning. I think that most of you that watched the markets over the weekend, you probably saw some of these had some really big gaps. Pound didn't really have a very big gap, but you saw like dollar yen gap down overnight on Sunday at the market open at 5 p.m. Eastern. You saw dollar CAD gap up by over 140 points on Friday at 5 p.m. Oh, I'm sorry, on Sunday at 5 p.m. You saw Aussie gap down. You saw the commodity currencies all gapped and the yen gapped. The European currencies gapped a little, the Swiss and the euro, and the pound actually kind of stayed put a little bit. It didn't necessarily gap too much. You're probably wondering why, and if you were watching any of the news over the weekend, and this one kind of totally went over my head, but the oil meeting with the majority of the OPEC producers, save Iran, which is I think is the reason why they were why the agreement was not reached. Sorry, I'm having a hard time putting my thoughts together here. There was no agreement reached, and what it did was, it's a big meeting of oil producers, and one of the reasons why oil has been making such downward, oil is no different than anything else. It runs off supply and demand. I was talking to a guy who actually trades a bunch of oil and said, the reason why this was such a big deal, this oil meeting, is that, they're trying to reach some type of agreement for not necessarily, it's kind of complicated, but, cutting production as far as oil goes. If you cut down supply, obviously that can stabilize demand and make oil prices stabilize a little bit more instead of all these volatile moves. But there was no agreement reached, mainly because they kind of blamed it. The Saudis didn't want to do anything unless Iran was represented at the meeting. There's not another meeting there until like June 2nd. So that sent market into turmoil. Actually, crude, and let me just show you real quick on our finance screen here. If you look at what happened in Asia, crude is still down 2%, but it did fall further. It's starting to stabilize and come back to the upside. But if you're wondering, some of these went in different directions. Like the dollar got stronger versus the CAD and stronger versus all the commodity currencies has since come back. And then it got weaker versus the yen. And one of the reasons for this yen trade right in through here, or this yen depreciation, was the fact that look what happened to Nikkei. And by the time the markets really started to stabilize, Nikkei and a lot of the Asian markets had already closed, but the Nikkei was down 3.5%. That sent the yen tumbling down. Crude going down sent the commodity currencies tumbling down. Canadian, New Zealand, Aussie, the commodities selling off. Once Europe opened, it got a little volatile, but not too bad. Europe is stabilized. Markets are down slightly now, is what I would say. The FTSE, FTSE is down 0.3. These were down a little bit more, but now they've started to stabilize a little bit to where they're just, they're not down that much. So just slightly down. And then the futures here in the U.S. are just slightly down. And you see crude here is down 3%. But, oil has stabilized. Make no mistake about it. We have gotten some stabilization in oil, and some of the volatility has died off and stabilized a little bit here this morning. You all know oil is like one of the big drivers of, so when you look at it overall, you would say that oil's, it's a major driver of, or excuse for why, some of the markets, go up and down. It's also one of the big factors in inflation and deflationary pressure in a lot of economies, especially that are export dependent. So, that was really the big news that sent all these gaps happening overnight, or at 5 p.m. and then caused some volatility in the overnight hours. Now, looking at this, there are some opportunities that exist today, both, with some of these commodity currencies and also with the European stocks. Yen, is already filled the gap. CAD has almost filled the gap right down in here from where it went down. Aussie and New Zealand have especially already filled the gaps here. Everything's filled the gap except for the CAD, and that's just because oil, even though it's stabilized a little bit, is still extremely low. So that's still keeping a little bit of selling pressure there on the CAD. Interesting thing on the CAD here is that, you can see this double top right in here that it broke down below. It made a lot of resistance right there at the 130 level. So with this kind of, news and with this kind of volatility, does come some opportunity here, especially when you look at things from a trading perspective. First one I want to take a look at here this morning, other than what happened over the weekend with in Doha, oil's down 2%, global markets down slightly. I should write on here, Asia was down big. Before the market stabilized, they had already closed, so Asia was down big. That carried over into Europe, but Europe started to stabilize a little bit. So we got opportunities on either side here this morning, and we're getting some consolidation here. Let me start off with our good friend the pound, though. That's a good starting point for us today when we look at momentum trades. Let me start off with the short-term retracement that was occurring here. Here was the high on the pound from the other day. Here's the most recent swing. And you can see clearly we have a nice little A. We had a nice little B come down. And we have a nice little C potentially coming up here on the pound. Well, the start of what we would call an ABC correction there on the pound. Not a bad little opportunity, I think, because I think with the pound as weak as it's been, I think this presents some opportunities to trade either direction, essentially, momentum or retracements. I was actually halfway tempted on the pound when it started coming down right in here to go short, but then I saw the little ABC that was forming, and I kind of liked the opportunity right up here at right above the 4,200 level for a short trade on the pound. It's actually been here. Let me show you on this screen. Actually, let me redo this so you can see it a little bit better. You can see it's been making a divergence right in here on the LP trend line. You go from the high to the low. You got our little ABC here. And you probably see where I'm going with this one. But there's a momentum trade. Momentum, I think, can be played with a lot of the European currencies today, including the euro. But this would be more of a retracement type of opportunity. And this is certainly one that I'm looking for a sell trade on. I'm just going to write single bar touch and close off 78.6 and -5 on the 1 hour totals. It's already negative. Well, it was -5 just a second ago, but it's you got to like the divergence that it's made inside that retracement. Single bar touch and close just means any bar that comes up and closes off the 78.6 level, as long as it touches it. You could wait if you want. Once it touches 78.6, if you wanted to see it come down below, you can see the 61.8 is where the 4,200 level is. If you want a little bit added confirmation on that, I don't think it's really necessary, but but if you wanted to be a little bit more conservative, put your stop right up above this swing high, 1.42433. And then from here, you have a lot of places to go to where you can put in a limit 1 of 1-to-1 risk reward. and then look for your limit 2 at 1 to 1.5. I'll go ahead and copy this and paste it. And there we go. Pound dollar. I'll sell into a retracement. And then if we take all these objects off the list, keep the arrow on there, we can take the Fibonacci off. I'll take off the limit 1. And then as far as another sell entry opportunity, since it almost looks like it's making some double tops right in through here, we could look to trade it to the downside off a momentum trade. Now there's a couple of momentum trades that actually exist here. This low right down in here is like right at the 1.41642. So we've had a little bit of retracement here to the upside, but I would kind of wait to see, what it does here. If it comes up to the, if it comes up to our fib levels, obviously we have a short opportunity. But also floater close below recent low, and this would be more of a momentum play and a -5 on the 1 hour totals. You could almost call this the trough in the middle. If it does find that resistance at 4,200, you could almost treat this like a short-term intraday double top trade. And I wouldn't worry too much about right down in here because, let's see here. This is where we came down. Pound lost some a little bit, and I wouldn't worry about too much as support right down in there. So I think you could look for, in this case, a 1-to-1 risk-reward ratio. I deleted the wrong one there. So 1-to-1 if we do momentum, because that gives us a little bit less room to work with, if we're looking to trade momentum. And then the stop, you don't have to put the stop too far away. I would just put the stop. Here's the swing right here. We came down, made a higher low, if you will, from here, and the swing right up in here at this high. So 1.42016. Put it just above that swing high. We could look for a 1-to-1 risk reward on that. Now you gotta I like the divergence right down in here. It's often helped us out very much when it comes to these market maker type of trades. Pound dollar. We're just going to call this sell on momentum break. It would have plenty of room to go based on the underlying volatility on the pound. Overall today, it's very much a mixed day when it comes to like the dollar. So there's other opportunities that we can look for when it comes to cross currencies, I think, today, because all these currencies are kind of diverging and going in different directions based on the news over the weekend. But momentum and retracements has always been kind of a nice idea. If you are just the same type of trading opportunity here is, if you wanted to look for something that has actually a little bit tighter a momentum play. Now I was looking at the fact that this was coming up here. Here's the 113 level. You see the 113 level where this is finding, it just broke through the 113 right at about the European Open. But you can see with all the, if I put this line right at the 113 level or within 2 pips of it, you can see all the selling pressure that's been going on in here. A lot of indecision on the euro right here. And then had this 1, 2, these higher lows that were coming up right in through here. You can even see a shorter term little trend line forming in here. You can actually take that off now. I was looking at that earlier, but every time it's trying to come down below 113, it's hitting its head off of it. Here, I'll just put this right at the 113 level. This is one, though, to where you'd want to see the selling pressure come into play. But if you did want to go into more of a, this one is more consolidated, so there's a chance that if it does break down, you don't see it very clearly on here, but on the LP trend line, even though it came up and broke through 113, it's starting to break down. It's actually made overall kind of a lower high, if you will, or topping out at this high on the LP trend line. It was starting to make a divergence right in here through that consolidation, and then at the London Open, a little bit of buying pressure came into play. Not much, but just a little bit of buying pressure. I would still look at this as being kind of consolidated. From a candle standpoint, you got to like how much selling pressure there is right down in here. It's almost as if there's a lot of sellers right above that 113 level that really don't want the euro to go higher. Euro was getting finally broke out of that longer term consolidation last week, where it was sideways for about half the month. But I'll actually go ahead and put this on the trading sheet, but I would make this a kind of a one cancels other order between the pound and the euro. I would look for a close below the 113 level, and I would look for that LP trend line, or the PitView indicator. It went +5. It came down, went +5 again. I wouldn't just look for it to go negative. You can. I would look for it to go -5 just to add a little confirmation on that. If we would want a lot of selling pressure coming into play here. And selling, all PitView does is gauge buying and selling pressure based on the liquidity provider activity. I wouldn't say that's all it does, but I mean, it's pretty damn close. But this would be a lower risk trade as opposed to the pound. That's why I'm kind of mentioning this one. So it probably is a good play. Putting your stop right above the swing, which is 113.213. And then on this one, you could actually look for a higher risk-reward ratio. You could look for a limit of 1 to 1.5 risk-reward, or do your limit 1, limit 2. This is another dollar strength play. So that is not a bad opportunity. So Euro USD. It's tight consolidation there on the euro. So if it does break, it could break violently. All right. So that's looking more at the European currencies. Let me switch gears here, and I'm going to let me go to dollar CAD. I'm going to show you what's shaking out with this one real quick. There it is. CAD's an interesting one because it still has not completed its gap right up in here. From a dollar weakness standpoint, this also is not, it's not a bad play. I mean, it's starting to kind of consolidate down here on the trend line. In this case, this is kind of a tougher one to gauge because I do think the CAD can strengthen if we, once the market opens here at 9:30 and we start getting, and we get full rotation going in the global markets. I don't know if you know what full rotation means, or full commitment from global markets. It just means that, the first markets to open up during the day are the Asian markets, Austrasian markets like New Zealand, Australia, Japan, China. And second markets to open up around the globe in the rotation are, Europe and Great Britain. And then the last markets to open during the day are the North American markets, the U.S. and Canada. So, once we get that full rotation going, since oil already kind of captured that gap, if you will, then I could see the Canadian coming down and getting stronger just because of the fact that it did come up in here. This gap right in here obviously was because of oil. It wasn't because of anything else. And we got this double top that formed right in through here. And, it can still come down and cover this gap right down in here. It gapped up, meaning dollar strength and Canadian weakness, and it's the only currency that has not kind of covered that yet. But I want to show you two currencies real quick, because that would be kind of a dollar weakness play. I think maybe instead of going dollar weakness, we could actually look to trade more into a cross currency, because another one that has, I think, some upside potential to it is right in through here on the yen. You remember the yen, the yen was actually not looking too bad as far as a play goes on Friday, and you can see that this is the kind of the line in the sand that they made for the, if you kind of connect all these, common support areas, they kind of made this line in the sand right here on the yen. I think that's a big institutional support level. And when I say institutions, I'm speculating here, but that's what I am. That's where you are when you're a trader, speculating here. But I think there's a lot of buying pressure right here near those lows. And even though the yen did gap down, remember the Nikkei was down like big. When you take that into account, let me just bring this over a bit. Here was that swing low right down in here. It's coming off the, say, it came down on the 78.6 level, which was right at the 108 level, and it's since kind of covered the gap. This would actually be a risk-on trade, because if you look at dollar Canadian, if we do get risk on come into the markets today, meaning if the markets do recover, start going up, like I said, the markets have already recovered quite a bit from the little gap that it took at the, not the little gap, and some of these are actually quite substantial as far as gaps go, of the gap that it took. I think we can easily see the yen start to make some progress and some higher highs right down in here. You can see the LP trend line is pointing up on it. It's already come down and it's gone positive here, showing some buying pressure coming in here on the yen. So bottom line is, if you pay attention to cross-currency pairs, whoops, I think dollar yen, dollar CAD, and then let's pull dollar yen up. We'll pull up CAD yen. If I think there could be some upward momentum on dollar yen, and if I think there can be some downward momentum on CAD yen, so if I think the dollar can get stronger versus the yen, and if I think the dollar could conceivably get weaker versus the Canadian, so I'm expecting the Canadian to get stronger and the yen to get weaker, this would be a case to where you'd want to go into a cross-currency situation, meaning dollar CAD plus dollar yen equals CAD yen. And you can see with the two gaps here, the gap down on the dollar yen and the gap up on the dollar CAD. It's even a bigger gap down here on the of almost 150 pips. Let's see here, where was it? 150. It was all in all a gap down, you know, from to these lows, it gapped down to, let's see here, almost 200 pips actually. Actually, it was some, yeah, about 200 pips that it came down. So I think the play here actually that we're looking for is a buying opportunity on CAD yen. It makes sense because, you know, why would you want to, you know, why not? If you're expecting this to come down, if you think that this can make some more headway to the upside, then why not look for CAD yen to make some more headway here to the upside? And I was actually looking for something quite simple here on CAD yen because it, you know, it still has some room to go to cover the gap here. There's two ways I think you could approach this CAD yen. One would be more of a PitView type of method. You can see it's bottoming out right down in here, but and another one would use some added confirmation, if you will. See where this low was, where it bounced off right down in here, came up, it gapped down below, and that's where it's finding resistance right above that 84, like 303 level or whatnot. Can actually move this up a bit. We'll go to this swing high because now that it's established, this is the swing high. I would look for a buy entry here. Yep, a buy on CAD yen, believe it or not. That gives us two currencies to work with. If the yen goes up and the CAD consolidates, this would still go up. If the CAD goes down and the yen consolidates, this could still go up. Dollar CAD, I mean. So that gives us an opportunity here for two currency pairs to kind of help us out. So this would be a kind of a bar reversal because I was tempted to do it. If it would have made a close above this previous high, I would have been tempted to go into this, but it never did. It came down and I didn't really get what I was looking for there. If you see it go +5, what I mean by being more aggressive, you can look for it to close above this high. That would give you an entry. If it just breaks that high and you go and you see that this and you see the CAD yen start to go +5, again, it doesn't, you know, you don't want it, it doesn't, not just positive, you would want this, it hasn't gone -5 yet, you'd want this to go +5 on that CAD yen. If it goes +5 and it breaks through that high, I think you're going to have some an opportunity to go into some potential buys there on CAD yen. The stop, I'm just going to make the stop like very simple here. What was this low? 84.077, 349. It's the yen pair. So I'm just going to go very simple here, and I'm going to say stop of 50 max. No matter what your position size is, let's say stop of 50 max. And if it can come back up and challenge where it was coming back up and challenging from Friday, you could go into a limit of 1 to 1.5 risk reward. So basically risking 50 to make 75. And I think that's actually a pretty decent opportunity there. And that's taking advantage of dollar yen showing upside potential and dollar CAD showing downside potential. So that's going to be our alternative. Instead of dollar weakness, instead of looking into dollar weakness strategies, we're going to call this dollar neutral. Dollar neutral also means cross pair opportunity. CAD yen, buy into momentum break. You could try to capture it kind of early there, but that's looking pretty good also. Markets are just now opening up. The Dow futures were down, so I wasn't expecting the market to make a full recovery, but I think the Dow's down like 42 right now, S&P's down like 6. So the stocks are starting to edge a little bit lower. NASDAQ's down 20. So we're getting a little bit of lower opening in stocks, but you can see this is already starting to come up. I wonder what's driving it. Yen's coming up, CAD's coming down. Yeah, so that's a good play. You can see this is starting to, it was starting to go a little sideways, but now it's starting to try to make a break here. Remember, what brought this yen down right down in here in this big gap was the Nikkei being down like 300, like 3-something%. That's a pretty big move to the downside for the Japanese stocks. So I mean, that brings this trade more into focus and more into play, if you will. All right. You can already see the euro dollar starting to make a little bit of a break here down. Pound is still consolidated right in through here. All of these we want some kind of sustained break. And we still do like that little Gartley pattern on the pound. There's a longer term one shaping up on the pound too. Somebody had sent this to me to where if you were to happen to get, let's say the pound does not continue down from there, that, from the most immediate swing, you also have a longer term Gartley on the pound here that you want to keep an eye on. That's from the highs from earlier last week, from Monday and Tuesday, where it broke down below consolidation. And if it makes an ABC up to here too, that would be a second chance Gartley. So keep that one in mind too, in case you get stopped out on the pound. If pound comes up and makes a shorter term Gartley and comes up to that 78.6, then look for your touch and close and look for a possible sell. That's a short term. But if it stops you out, look long term also, because the 78.6 retracement of this swing right in through here, this overall swing, is actually right at the 4,300 level. So essentially what that means to you is if it breaches the 100% retracement without giving you any type of signal, any type of confirmation, then be prepared to extend it out. Extend your fibs back to the previous swing high right up in here and look for opportunities. So you got a kind of a short-term intraday retracement opportunity, and then you also have a longer-term opportunity here on the pound if it comes up to this level. And once again, this would give you kind of a second chance. I wanted to show this one to you just because the pound has been, one of the weaker currencies. So single bar touch and close off 78.6. The A doesn't come up and hit the 61.8, but all we need from an ABC correction is A to end at approximately the 61.8% level, B to retrace between 38.2 and 88.6 of A, and C go up to that 78.6 level. 43491 would be your stop. 1.43491. If you're able to swing 2 lots, limit 1 and limit 2 is always a good idea. 1-to-1 risk reward. And then limit 2, you can look for that 1 to 1.5 risk reward. So that gives you that kind of fallback opportunity, if you will. So gives you a trade to fall back on just in case you get stopped out. Call it a 1-hour chart and call it a 4-hour chart. You can call it anything you want, just don't call it late for dinner. And there's where the pound stands. So I can go and take those objects off, take all the text off at least. You can certainly see that that's where it's staying long term. Euro dollar's getting close. You can see dollar yen's coming up, dollar CAD's coming down. CAD yen is starting to break through that high. Certainly has potential there. You have plenty of room to go on that, on this CAD yen. You have plenty of room. You can see it's starting to break through that previous high, but it's got a lot of room to go there. It's a trade that you could easily manage. You know, here's where resistance really is, up here like 85.720. You know, if it comes back up into this gap, you know, it certainly has a, you know, room to get up there and make you, you know, that 75 pips or so. Somebody was asking about being more. Well, the last time it went +5 and went down in here, so I really wouldn't. I'd like to look for a +5. If it closes in this gap area right down in here, then you could, at 10 a.m., you could potentially look for a buy there. You could also just look for this thing if it goes positive on the 1-hour totals, you could, that would be highly aggressive. So you could look for that. I mean, that would certainly be some bullish pressure in there. Or, you know, just a strong candle close into this area of it making a higher high could also be a good indication now that the markets have opened, because markets are starting to recover a bit. The S&P is only down 2.5 now. Dow's only down. Nasdaq's down 11. So yeah, we're not doing too bad here as far as the markets go. I think the Dow's down like 8 points. So it's starting to, you know, it was down. Now it's coming back to the upside. So any type of risk on today is gonna bring this into a place where you have that opportunity to potentially go long on that CAD yen. And don't forget about euro dollar. And here's the pound. You see the pound is already coming up to that 78.6 level. But it's +5 now, so all you need is a touch and close and a negative. If it goes negative on those totals here on the pound, now that it's already come up to the 78.6 level, all you need is a touch and close and the 1-hour total to go negative now. Now that it's gone +5, that would be all you need. You just need to go negative. But wait for your confirmations to come into play. Or if you're a little bit more shaky on selling into the retracement on the pound, you can see the euro and the pound are going opposite directions. Pound is going up, probably because oil is recovering a little bit. I haven't looked at crude here. Still hovering right at that 40 level. Brent crude's down 2.5%. It was down over 3% there for a while. Crude's down 3%. These are good opportunities here. So I think that's where I'm going to keep things for right now. If you do take the short on the pound, then make sure that, just note that if you do get stopped out on it, you have another opportunity to go short. So you can be a little bit more patient. If you want to, you can, if you get the touch and close here, and then you see the euro dollar close beneath the 113 level, if you had to pick and choose between the two, you could look at the euro dollar for your short opportunity, and then look for the pound on the longer term Gartley pattern. I'm just throwing some ideas out there to you. I'm just saying, different choices that you have. But those look pretty good to me for now. Let me go ahead and save our sheet. And there's your sheet for today. Because as always, I do give a sheet. I give a sheet to all of you. And how close is that? I just want to check one more thing real quick. I just want to see how close this pound is here. From swing high to swing low. It hasn't quite touched 78.6 yet. Hasn't quite touched 78.6. So from the absolute high to the low, it hasn't quite gotten there yet. So the euro dollar is probably the closer one to execution. CAD yen's also very, very close to execution. It's starting to go positive here. Phil says I need new sheet jokes. See, jokes only get old when I don't laugh at them personally. And I am one of those people that laughs way too hard at my own jokes. So until I find them not funny anymore, I'll continue them. All right. Well, that's all I got, folks. Good luck on your taxes today. For those of you living here in the U.S., I can judge all of you now that haven't done your taxes yet because I was able to quickly get out of the house and do mine on Friday before my accountant left town for vacation. So happy National Procrastination Day. Make sure that if you don't get your taxes submitted that you do put in your extensions and whatnot. So I will chat at everybody tomorrow morning. And yeah, I got get started on some more tutorials, which I'll give you the schedule for tomorrow morning. And like I said, Tom, I've got they haven't been uploaded to YouTube yet. They're on my upstairs computer. They're converting. You have to kind of replay them to convert them back onto your computer. So once those get done converting, I will shoot those out to you. And other than that, that's all I got. Probably the reason that does sound bad, doesn't it? My accountant skipped town after doing my taxes.